Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Infernus, and it's been nearly a month since we did this. That was purely a coincidence. I did not do that on purpose. But it's time to finally look at the official reveals for Transformers Legacy Wave 7 or Legacy Evolution Wave 4. Depends on what you like doing. I prefer to just call it Legacy Wave 7 to, keep consistency, but, well, not for consistency, but just for simplicity's sake. But at the very least, we now finally have official images of these figures after their pipeline revealed in the previous Legacy stream. And this is most likely going to be the last wave of Legacy Evolution before we get to year 3, which I'm kind of hoping is the final year, but at the same time, I love this line. Also, it is kind of a little bit frustrating that, most of us haven't even completed Wave 6 and they're already revealing Wave 7. What fun. Also, these aren't on pre-order yet, so that's also fun. And if I'm being honest, this has to be the most underwhelming wave of the entire line. No joke, nearly 70% of these figures are just reuses of older figures. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's exactly 70%. There's only 3 new molds in this entire wave, and one of them is technically a pre-tool. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So let's start out with Core Class. So of course for Core Class, we have our final Dinobot, Snarl. And I gotta say, without spoiling the Wave 6 ranking, Swoop is easily my favorite Dinobot. This looks like it could be giving him competition, or at the very least, it'll be second best. For one, why is it that Swoop and Snarl are the only ones who are ever allowed to have elbows? Why was that something they could only do on 2 characters? It would not have affected any of the other ones except for maybe Scar, because he's got some real big biceps and some really skinny forearms. But come on, it wasn't that hard. And this is probably one of the most accurate looking Dinobots in both modes. I mean, sure, his chin is perpetually scraping the ground, unlike the 86 figure, but it still looks really good. Although I will say, even though I don't have an image of it, the combined mode for Volcanicus looks a bit strange. I've heard some people call it a giant clown shoe, and yeah, I can't unsee that now. Again, I don't have an image, but I will say the completed Volcanicus does look nice. Also for Core Class, since they didn't have any other original characters, they're repacking Sludge and Slag, which is both nice to see and also kind of disappointing. I say it's nice to see because there are some people who actually decide to skip out on the Dinobots but actually regretted it later, so it is nice that they're repacking these. What's disappointing is the fact that I'm going into this wave knowing what the worst figure of the wave is going to be. Considering the rest of the figures here, I highly doubt that any of them are going to get worse than Sludge. Anyways, if you'll excuse me a minute. Water, stay hydrated. We have Deluxe Class. So let's get into one of the only new molds for this wave. There will be another one coming up later, but this is one of the only ones besides Snarl, Shadow Striker. Now, when I first saw this, I actually wasn't really a huge fan of the way it looked. I was hoping for a, highly accurate Chug-inspired version of the Shadow Striker design from Cyberverse, because it's not really that far off from the Generations stylization design style. So I was a little bit put off by this very obvious pre-tool of Rid 2001 Sideburn, and then I did some research and found out that the original Shadow Striker toy was actually a retool of Rid 2001 Sideburn. So now I'm actually a lot more down for this than I originally was, because how I see this is the original Shadow Striker with the head and color scheme of the Cyberverse Shadow Striker. So if I'm being completely honest, this looks a lot better to me now that I know that. Though it is a shame about the parts warming. The vehicle modes still look great regardless, though. Then we have Bombshell, who was actually, I think, the first figure in this wave to get leaked. And when I saw him, this immediately became my most anticipated figure of the wave, and that has not changed. I'm still going to be pre-ordering him from Amazon as soon as I can, because I am not going through that entire debacle with Shrapnel again. That was too much hell for one figure. That, and I think this actually kind of looks better. So I will say my biggest complaint about Shrapnel was just kind of how boring it was. It was very, it just looked kind of plain to me. With the purple chest, this actually sticks out to me a lot more. And yeah, sure, he didn't have a purple chest in the show, but I mean, it's kind of obvious to me that they were focusing on the bug mode here, which I think actually benefits the robot because that chest stands out so much more and makes him a lot more visually appealing. Also, is that some backwards butterfly I see? So yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. And also, the beetle mode kind of reminds me of that weird pig monster thing from Monsters University. If you know, you know. Then we have Strong Arm, which is just unfortunate, simply because it's a retool of that mediocre Elita 1. Now, of course, you guys might know I don't dislike the Elita 1 mold, but at the same time, it placed real low on my, what was it, my year 1 ranking for Legacy. In fact, I think it might have actually ranked second to last, behind only getting above Hot Rod because, duh. But it's too stiff looking. It looks like it's constantly uncomfortable. The posability isn't really anything special. The transformation's frustrating, and the vehicle mode doesn't like rolling. So the fact that this is just that doesn't really give me a lot of hope. At the very least, the transformation looks different enough, so who knows, maybe this could end up being better. But I don't know. I've never really been that big a fan of the mold itself. But I'll still pick this up. Then last for Deluxe is Detritus. So we have another evil Junkion, this time with the actual Junkion colors, and it's a repaint of Hound, which makes sense because that's what Detritus is. This looks really nice, but I do have one question. Which came first? Like, in terms of production, which came first? 86 Hound or Legacy Detritus? Because I just want to know who's a retool of who. So next we have the Voyagers, and this is kind of interesting because for the first one, we have a straight repaint of Tarn into Bludgeon. And I gotta be honest, that works a lot better than I thought it would. Like, initially I was a little bit put off, but, then I looked at an image of IDW Bludgeon, and this technically has all the right colors in all the right places. For the most part, the arms aren't really supposed to have any green. I do think that there are some different things here that help distinguish it from the Tarn. For one, the fact that you can just plug the cannons onto his back. What I'm probably going to do instead is plug them onto the arm like the G1 version has, and then have the sword in the other hand. But, it's nice they at least give you this option. And not only that, but he has a new head sculpt, which looks very nice. Very much that samurai skeleton aesthetic that he has always had. And the tank mode still looks really nice. I can definitely see why they chose Tarn for this character, because they do look very similar. I mean, they look similar. I didn't say they look the same. Obviously, this is just Tarn with some new colors, and new head, and new accessory. But it's distinct enough to where I'm comfortable with saying that this is definitely worth a pickup. Also, I don't normally post pictures from the actual live stream, but this pose goes way too hard. Like, that is one of the most badass poses I've seen a figure be put in, and it proves that you can indeed do awesome things with hot rod shoulders. Though admittedly, I've tried doing this pose with Tarn, and it hasn't really turned out the greatest. But yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. Then we have Trash Master, the only other new mold in this wave besides Shadow Striker and Snarl. And honestly, I look at this and I don't really feel much. It's a neat design. I like the garbage truck mode, and I do think using the claw as a weapon is very interesting. And the head itself kind of looks like a mix of Bulkhead and Wild Rider, but I don't know, this one just doesn't really stand out to me that much. I do look forward to getting it, but I'll have to reserve any judgments for when I finally have it in hand. And then finally, we have our leader class, because there were no pipeline reveals for this stream, and it's Dreadwing. Yikes, man. So, here's the thing. The one thing I was at least hoping for with Dreadwing is that they would give us the ability to swoop his wings down, because that's what Dreadwing's supposed to look like. Whereas Skyquake has the wings pointed upwards, Dreadwing is supposed to have his wings pointing down. And these aren't pointing down. There's enough room in the wings where they probably could have included, like, that ratcheted swivel that they included on the Bumblebee movie Seeker mold for Studio Series, I think they easily could have done that because, like, they did that for Huffer and Pipes in Kingdom. Could have easily included that swivel and hinge to swing the wings down, but instead it's just a flat repaint of Skyquake that's missing a lot of yellow, or I guess a lot of gold. It's still got a gold face, and there are some nice gold accents. Plus, I do think the red is really nice to look at on this figure as well. But the wings definitely needed more gold, as did the wings down here. At least the gun is different. At least the nozzle is. The rest of it is just a carryover. But I mean, they had very similar guns anyway, so I don't really mind. You guys might know I'm not really the biggest fan of that Skyquake figure. It's really good. It looks fantastic. It's just not the greatest to handle. I'd be willing to forgive a lot of the inaccuracies on this guy if they can, at least get the joints fixed. But if not, then I can definitely see this getting lowered in Skyquake. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the reveals. Since, like I said, there wasn't any pipeline, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. I'm not gonna bore you with all the generic stuff. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Godspeed.